Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for the rest of our council to log on. Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for the rest of our council. Again, we're just waiting for quorum so that we can get started. We're waiting for our chair. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on. Again, this is broadcasting live on YouTube. I sent out the link. The link can also be found on our website. right, we have somebody who's on an iPhone.
That's me. Sorry, because I'm having technical difficulties here.
No problem. I thought maybe we had another person.
Oh, and so honestly, I can't even see who's here.
I know.
I saw Mr. Ortiz at one point and you.
So do you have the bottom bar where it says participants?
Oh yeah.
You should see participants.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mr. Calderon just logged on. So now we have 1, 2.
Call.
I'm sorry?
I'm on the call, just FYI. I'm
Yes,
here.
I hear you. I see you. Thank you, sir. You're going to have to lead the meeting since our chair is not present and you are the second chair. Did you hear me, Mr. Calderon?
I did. So can we just wait to see if she's gonna log on?
Yep.
Okay.
We have 9 people watching us on YouTube. Thank you very much for being patient. Those of you who are watching us live on YouTube right now, we're about to get started as soon as the rest of us, we are waiting for quorum. Let me switch screens here so you can see who is online. Let me change the screen.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were talking or not.
No, not yet. Still waiting for quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I guess we could start. We have quorum. Let's go ahead and get started. Are you taking minutes, Miss?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Miss Morehouse. Thank you. All right. So we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the agenda. And then we'll get started. Okay. So on the agenda for today, we are going to call roll first. So I'll begin. Ms. Torres. I don't see her as present, so she is not. Mr. Calderon.
Here.
Ms. Spires. Ms. Lejarde.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Morehouse.
Present.
Mr. Ortiz.
Here.
Ms. Lopez. I think she's on. Ms. Amalia Lopez. unmute.
She's muted.
There she is. Ms. Lopez?
Here.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Boyd? Ms. Cruz?
Here.
And myself. So that gives us quorum. So just want to call the meeting to order at 4:10 p.m. today. Just to kind of set these norms again, we will be unmuting and muting ourselves when we would like to talk. If there is anybody on the live chat that would like to talk, you can actually put it in the live chat on the YouTube, or you can chime in signing by the sign up sheet emailing the Yates ELEMCPS @gmail.com, and we will link you in and give you a phone number to call in. So roll call was established. I'm gonna go now look at the agenda. I move to approve the agenda.
Do we have quorum?
We do.
Okay, great. So motion to approve the agenda?
Second. Okay. All in favor to approve the agenda, say aye and put your hand up in the camera, please.
Yes. Hi.
Thank you. Okay, that is unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I'm.
Yay.
All right, we have the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read last month's minutes?
Yes.
I did get a chance. I did not see anything to be stricken. I motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Yes.
I need a second. Ms. Laharde, do you second?
Second?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Laharde. Ms. Laharde, second. All in favor of approving last month's minutes?
Aye.
Hi.
Miss Yasmin is here.
Oh,
You guys,
Hey.
can you guys see me?
we sure
Yeah.
can.
Okay, I had to log in on my phone because my computer wasn't working.
Not a problem. We see you.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you go ahead and take over the meeting.
Hold on. I don't have the agenda right in front of me. Give me one
Okay, no
second.
problem. We're moving. Actually, the next we just approved the minutes from last month. We're now on 5, which is your report.
We're on my report.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in my report, there's 2 things that I just want to talk about because I the other day I was by the school and I bumped into some parents.
Okay.
And they wanted me to bring, I know that we have been discussing about 8th grade graduation.
Yes.
Now, so 8th grade graduation, there has been, a talk with parents about the money that was raised for the chocolate, that it's going to be used for everyone. So some parents are in agreement with that and some parents are not. I don't know, Mr. Perez, if you had a chance to speak to the parents about it, if they're okay with everyone using the money that was raised for all the students. Did you get a chance to speak
Yes.
to the parents?
So last meeting we talked about having a survey sent out to the 8th graders on how they would want to use it. I sent out the survey and it came out in favor of using the money by capping downs for everybody in 8th grade.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I didn't. Can you
Okay.
repeat that for me?
Yes. Everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah, it's just my connection.
Okay. So I sent out a survey to the 8th graders,
Okay.
and one of the questions in the survey was if we should use the money to buy everybody a cap and gown, and it came out in favor of that.
So you had the students choose how they're going to use the money?
That's correct.
Okay. So you did not ask the parents if they were okay with that?
That was we did ask. That was what the idea was at the parent meeting, was to send a survey to the 8th graders and asking them how they wanted to use the money.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. We have 2 other parents here in the LSC. There are 8th grade parents. I don't know if you guys want to add to that.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Lopez.
I don't agree with that decision because some students worked really hard to get this money and some others who didn't do anything. And I understand it's a hard time right now that people needs help. And like, for example, my daughter raised more than $1,000 in this uh, money thing, in this chocolate selling thing. She raised more than 1,000, which means maybe she was getting like half of that, right? And I don't think it's fair for us to be working that hard because I was doing it and she was doing it too. And some kids then didn't do like anything at all. And I'm not that kind of person that I don't like to share. I do like to share. Just clarify that. If someone needs the help, yes, let's help them. But some people take it for granted. They don't do anything, and I don't think it's fair. I understand that people need help, yes, but you think it's fair just some students working really hard and some others they didn't do anything? That's why I don't agree with that decision that to use the money for everybody.
Okay.
What about you, Anna?
I agree with Amalia in a way, I understand that, like you said, times are hard right now. Not everybody's working, not everybody can provide, but there has to be a way, if there's a little extra money and, from the school money that we could give these kids to get their caps and gowns.
Say that one more time.
I said there has to be a way from the school money that we could transfer to get these kids their caps and gowns.
So not using the candy money.
No. Because I thought we had agreed for that to be there, but if the kids wanted it to go after all this virus thing passed, that's what we agree on.
So what we
to a restaurant or something.
Right, and what we agreed, and then we those were the ideas that we came up with, and then parents suggested, well, why don't we ask the students what they want, and then sent out the survey, and what came out was everybody wanted a cap and gown and using the money for it, and then whatever was left would be what we would do, a luncheon or a photo to chow dinner after we could come back. And so to be 100% honest with you, it actually was about $1,000 that was able to be used to pay for all the cap and gowns, and then we have about $1,200 left.
Okay.
So you know what? I'm gonna have to agree with Amalia, and I'm gonna have to agree with Anna in a certain way. Like they both said, I mean, just coming from me as being a parent, my daughter did work hard to sell those chocolates, and I did help her, but she did work hard. I mean, I'm not saying let's not share the love and help the other kids, but I know that there are a lot of kids that sold a lot of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't think it's fair in a way that it is used for all the kids. But then, in another way, I'm like, okay, I mean, like it's hard. It's a really hard decision whether, do we use the money for all the kids and help all the kids, but then kids that didn't work hard to sell some chocolates at least. I mean, I know that there's kids that have over $300, and it's kind of like, they did work hard, I mean, there were 5 girls in the morning, every morning selling hot chocolate. And they did work hard while all the other kids did not. So, I mean, it is fair in a way and it's not fair in another way because there was a lot of kids that worked hard for the money to be distributed to everyone, like equally, you know what I mean? So I do have to agree with Anna and Amalia on that. So I don't know, how we should proceed when it comes to that. I don't know if there's still money. I don't know how many kids sold what. I just know what my child sold. So I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna proceed with when it comes to that.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Well, so the money for cap and gowns that would normally, I think Miss Cruz said something about transferring money from the school in order to pay for those kids that maybe didn't sell enough candy. But isn't that just a standard graduation fee, cap and gown?
It is, but we didn't collect any fees because we went out on the COVID.
Right, so all we have is the money from the chocolate sales.
That is correct.
Did you order the cap and gowns?
Cap and gowns were ordered. They have not been issued, but they were ordered. They were $31 a student.
Okay.
So then,
Can you?
not all kids have paid, right? So not all kids have paid for their cap and gowns.
That's correct.
Israel, then I would suggest for you to then probably take the money from the other fundraisers that have been done by the school.
By the what?
The school.
Why?
But there hasn't been any fundraisers.
Right, but there was money left over from what I'm able to recollect from the Taste of Yates.
There was, but we can't use that money
Why couldn't you use that money?
because we got to get permission.
Oh,
It's
from
been allocated for the arts.
Yep, that was allocated for arts, and that was something that we put in our minutes. And then we also, any money that we collected last year for our SES was allocated for SES.
So what alternative do you have for these three parents? Because it was allocated for the arts, but it hasn't been spent, so it can be modified.
It can be. Again, that's something that we would have to talk about and vote on.
And then where would the leftover money from the chocolate go?
Yeah, and that's kind of the question, right? Where then would that $2,000 go?
Well, parents, what are your recommendations?
I mean, with my thought is, I know that my kid, I mean, I can just speak for my child. I mean, she's here, and if she wants to bump into this meeting, she can, and she can express, what she thinks. But thank you. But I think that if whoever raised money for those chocolates, I think that something should be done for them. Like we had talked before, whether it's in September, October, at some point of the year when things get back to normal. And I don't know. I don't know how to, I want to be able to help these other kids, but then I don't think it's fair. So I'm like in both. I'm like in between.
I hear you.
I don't know. It's hard.
So I want to first reiterate, the fundraiser that we created was a chocolate fundraiser for 8th grade graduation, right? So
right.
It actually was for an 8th grade trip, if you remember, right? And then we weren't able to go on the trip because we didn't get enough students. So we decided we were going to allocate that money to 8th grade graduation. Fees, right? Fees. And had we continued with our year all the way through, 8th grade graduation would have been $270 a student. So at $270 a student, if I were to have sold $350 of chocolates, I would still only be getting $270. Does that make sense?
So, wait, say that one more time, because I know the chocolates were sold. It was I know it was $60. $30 went to go pay the box, and then $30 went to their account.
That's correct.
Right. Okay.
And it was up to $270.
Up to $270.
Right, because that was go towards graduation fees.
Right. And then where was the remaining balance going to?
To the 8th grade fund.
So whatever extra money that they raised, it was to the 8th grade funds?
Yes, because it can't go back to a student. It can't go back to a parent. Because it's a fundraiser for the school. So it's not like I can issue a check to parents for the remaining balance. I'm not allowed to do that. And that was something we explained in the earlier beginning when we started this.
So I don't remember that, I'll be honest.
Okay,
That the rest of the money was gonna go towards an 8th grade fund.
so
Is
any,
is Anna and Amalia were aware of that? I don't recall.
I don't
At all.
remember. Mhm.
okay, so any fundraiser that the school does goes to the school into a general fund into accounts, right? For any 8th grade thing, whatever it is. So for example, if we were to we usually do an award ceremony where we have trophies and we order medals and we order ribbons, that extra money would go towards that. Or if we had an 8th grade dance, or we had 8th grade transportation, anything else, that would go to 8th grade, and that's where that fund of money stays, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because anything extra, we're not allowed to issue to parents because it's a fundraiser for the school. It's a fundraiser. It's not like it's a profit, is what I'm saying. We can't, it's not something that we can sell for profit, because then we become a business and we're not a business.
Right. And I understand what you're saying. I don't recall being told that that it was up to $270 and then the rest will go towards a 8th grade fund. That's the part that I don't recall. I mean, I get it. For example, the money that was raised in the morning when the girls were selling hot chocolate, yes, that it would be, for what I was told, I guess it was going to be divided into 5 girls because there were 5 girls. Unless it was different, that it was going to be divided into the whole classroom, but it was 5 girls.
No, their money that they raised
Okay.
was going to go towards their fees,
Okay.
but we didn't have any fees.
Right. Okay, girls.
You see what I'm saying? So like there were no fees to collect. So now the fund is in this general 8th grade fund, which is what we talked about at the 8th grade meeting. And then parents said, this idea, this idea, this idea. And then what we came to was, why don't we allow the students to decide? Can you send out a survey to see what students decided? And I sent out that survey to all the 8th grade students.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at Jasmine here, and she said that she did not complete a survey.
So I don't know if she completed it, but I did send it out.
How many people completed the survey?
How many students completed that survey?
Let me pull it up. Hold on one second.
I think, I honestly think, and I mean, not that we don't want the kids' opinion, but I think that the survey should have been sent, or a letter should have been sent to all 8th grade parents, especially to those that, so for the kids that sold chocolate, and kind of let them decide how they wanted to spend the money at least, because,
Well, we did.
I mean, at least,
In person, we did discuss it in February as, allowing the students to decide, because I remember, that I shared, why don't we give a gift card to all of the students? And I know that this was a part of the discussion. To do something with the students, for the students to decide what they wanted to do with the funds. And we tossed the idea that Anna shared about, maybe doing a trip or covering a portion of the trip.
And then we talked about going to Fogo de Chao as a luncheon. Remember, we said it was going to be $45 a student. And then we took the money, which was $2,000, it's about $2,000, and we divided it by the students that we have in 8th grade. And I said that came out to $66 a student.
I think that the issue here then is just the Mr. Perez, is just that the issue that the money is not benefiting all of this.
I hear you. Yep, I hear that. So the question, it was sent out on May 16th. And it's one of the first questions is, as we stated in the meeting Thursday, there's about $2,000 for 8th grade graduation, divided by everybody in 8th grade, that is $60 a student. Then the students put their name, their email. Then we asked them about graduation ceremony options. And then we asked about cap and gown. I would like to order one and pay for it. I don't mind using the money students raise from the candy sales. I do not want a cap and gown. Then we talked about an 8th grade luncheon. I would like to use the money raised from the candy sales for a luncheon after September 2020. The other answer that they had to choose from was, once I am in high school, I will not be interested. I do not want an 8th grade luncheon. Then we asked them about a digital signature book. I think it would be cool if I could have a digital signature book, especially if it's printed out. I'm not interested in a digital signature book. It doesn't matter either way. So those were the 4 questions that were asked. I received 9 responses.
Out of how many kids?
30.
Just 9 was fine.
That's a small sample size.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you it's not. It is. I hear you.
So, I mean, in my opinion, I think that, I guess to kind of, I think that the best thing would be, I don't know, to move forward, maybe send a letter to every 8th grade parent. And I don't know if all 8th grade parents can do a meeting and kind of decide. I know that, oh, there it is.
The time is running.
Maybe Amalia, Ayana, what do you guys think? I mean, I would say maybe just send a letter to 8th grade parents and see what their thoughts are. If the cap and gowns have been ordered, then it's have been ordered, that's money, you know, that's already been used, but then the remaining money, you know, how are we gonna use it?
How much was spent and how much is left over?
So we spent $1,036.
How much?
$1,036.
How much was each cap and gown for each kid?
Give me 1 second. I'll give you that price.
You said about 31, I thought.
Yeah, it was 31 and change plus shipping and
So let's say like $40.
so it ended up being like $1,000, $1,036, 1036.
Okay, so that's the total for all of them.
Yep.
So it was like about what, $50 each cap and gown?
No,
Just estimated.
they were $31, and it was like $32 total.
So $32. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a
And how
cap,
much-
gown, a tassel, and a diploma cover.
Oh, okay. So all that was $32 each?
Yeah.
Just about? Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. We can, you know, the cap and gowns are on their way. We can charge for them that $31 and have, you know, as that's the graduation fee. But we've already told parents that we were paying for them.
So I would say just if the money was already used for it, let it be. That's what I would do. I would just let it be, you know, the kids that benefited. And then the remaining balance for each kid, whatever they have in their accounts. And then we can talk about how they want to spend that money, the remaining, because the money has already been spent, you know, I would say just let it be. So that way every kid, because we don't know other people's situation, I'm okay with, you know, that money being already used with the cap and gown. I would just say the remaining balance, kind of figure out how the kids want to use it. I would say speak to parents, ask for their opinion on how they want to proceed with the remaining money.
Well,
So then
isn't that why we have these meetings where they can come and,
I'm a
you know,
little
contribute?
confused. So are we just talking about kids who raised money, or are we talking about every 8th grade kid?
Kids who raise.
I would say every 8, I would talk about, we would just, every 8th grade kid. Help me out here, ladies. The other two moms.
Okay, so last meeting, we had another parents, like 2 more parents, right? When Perez asked them about like the caps and gown and stuff, some of them asked what was the price on the caps and gown.
Mhm.
They did ask how much were the caps and gown. I don't know if those parents were interested in buying their kids those caps and gowns.
Mhm. So Perez, can we maybe hold another 8th grade parent meeting via Zoom?
Yeah.
And then Because you know, I'll be honest, the last meeting that we had, the parent meeting, I was at work, so I was just listening, and I didn't listen. I couldn't listen to the full meeting because I was trying to do both, listen to the meeting and be at work at the same time, so I couldn't do both. I mean, maybe we can hold another meeting and then kind of decide from there how, so that way everyone, you know, it's okay with how the money is being spent.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's, it's Amalia and Anna, are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
balance, Perez?
400 something.
So if we're gonna just round it off, it's another 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so next on my report, so we'll leave it at that. Does anybody have questions in regards of that before I just go to the second one?
So there's,
It's
you said there's
fine.
about $1,000 left over?
Yeah. We'll just round it off at an even 1,000.
So those other $1,000 are gonna be there for what the kids want to do after?
Which kids? Just the kids who raise money?
Well, I mean, if they want to go on a luncheon, like my son, if he wants to go on a luncheon, we could send him out on a luncheon with that money, you know what I mean?
I mean, I guess we will be talking about the kids that did raise money, unless the kids that didn't and their parents have the money to add, you know, to
Send them, they could go.
So, okay, so I'm gonna give you a hypothetical because I want to make sure we're being clear and that we're being concise about it, right? So if the luncheon costs $50 and your son raised $200, then $150 will stay with the school in that fund. Is that correct? No, I'm asking. Are we okay with that?
That the rest of the money?
So I want to make sure that we're clear that we can't give tax or a check back, right? So we have to.
You know what? Excuse me. Can maybe people mute themselves while you're speaking because there's too much.
I can do that. I'll do it. No problem. There's too much feedback. That's not a problem. So just thinking about the hypotheticals in this here, I want to make sure everybody knows. So if a student raised $200, right, and we've now paid $30 for, $32 for a cap and gown, right? So we're adding that up, and now we paid $40 for a luncheon. I'm at $72. So what I want everybody to understand is that does not mean that the student, we're not doing 200 minus 72. If that makes sense, is what I'm saying, because then you're ending up with, about $168 still left over to be spent by students. It's going to end up going into the 8th grade fund, and essentially it stays for the next 8th grade class. Like, that's what the money is there for, right? Unless we do something big and elaborate with the money that people can think of, and that could be anything, right? So that could be, we just have a party at the school where we spend all the money from 8th grade and we don't go to a luncheon, we just have a party, or we do a limo ride, or the Odyssey boat, that they were going to do, those things. If that's what we're deciding to do, is what I mean, is to zero out the account, then we would have to spend it on this class, right, or these students. But once we decide what we're going to do with it, if there's any money that's left over, that stays at the school or stays with the 8th grade fund, is what I'm saying. And so in years past, 8th graders would raise money, and those we would have those events. So we had the Odyssey, we had the Great America trip, we had the luncheon, and then we would have cap and gown. And so those kids who raised money would have their account, and then their money. So, like, for example, if they raised $280 and then their fees were only $270, that $270 would be covered, but then there was $10 left over, and that would stay in the 8th grade account. And so, like, for right now, I think if Mr. Ortiz can not back me up, but can confirm, in the 8th, there was money left over from last year's 8th grade money. I think it was like $200, right? And so that all of that money is in one account, is what I'm saying, and that's how it stays. So what we would have to decide as a group is, if we have $1,000 left over, we're gonna decide to use that money and zero it out. So if we're gonna have a party for $1,000, that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna have that party, right? So that's one. And then the second question is it just for kids who raise the money, or are we doing something school-wide for the entire 8th grade to attend and to go to? And so those are the two questions we have to figure out. And we don't have to figure those out right now. I'm just giving you those as questions for when we have an 8th grade meeting so that we can have that ready. Okay? I hope I made
Yeah,
sense.
I think that that's something that we should talk with all parents when we do have that parent meeting, and then kind of like finalize it. So that way we don't have to go back to this again because it's almost June. So, you know, I think that we do need to figure out what's going to happen with that money.
Got it.
So I'm okay with having that discussion during the next meeting of course, when all parents have joined.
Okay.
All right, so the second one was,
Oh, 1 second. So sometimes the 8th graders give a gift to the school, whether it's an art project or something like that. So I don't know if that is going to happen or not, but usually that costs money. And then if like it's only going to be the kids who raise the money and not the whole graduating class, then the fees get higher, you know? So you can't get a luncheon for $40 or what have you. And then that should also include travel expenses as well.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Ms. Morehouse. You're right. Like a bus as well. Like if we were to order a bus, we'd have to pay for that as well. Yeah.
yeah, that is true.
I mean, we could also order. We could also order shirts. You know, I want to make sure that we're thinking outside the box with what we want to do with it. Because I know that a lot of 8th graders got a hoodie. So there's shirts that could be ordered. There's, you know, you could do a party, we could do luncheon, but we would for luncheons and parties, obviously that's going to be after September 2020.
And then they mentioned, remember the lawn signs?
Yeah, we did get those, but those were ordered with our school funding, or with SES purchasing funding that we got.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the second thing that I wanted to add was that I know that we have been focusing on 8th grade. So I was talking to parents and they brought up kindergarten.
Yeah.
So it's like we have been talking about 8th grade, but we kind of forgot about kindergarten, the little ones.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to know, you know, what's going to happen with them since we have been talking about 8th grade. So, I mean.
So right now, the district has not given us guidance on kindergarten. We just actually had a staff meeting about it, actually. That was a question that came up in our staff meeting. We can have it. The only thing is it has to be virtual and it has to be digital. And somebody has to plan it, right? And so there has to be a committee. And if there's parents who want to do it, I'm 100% on board with that. But I don't know what that looks like for kindergartners on Zoom, right? And so that's what I want to make sure that we're thinking about. Like, our kindergartners are they going to be able to sit on a Zoom like this for an hour? And then what does that look like? Are we doing? Because, you know, in an in-person graduation, students sing and they have like they have things that they do and it's so cute and we're all there and we're able to watch it. And we can still do something on Zoom. It just, we have to think outside the box and do that. And we would need a committee to do that. So we're able to do it. It would just have to be digitally on Zoom. And we'd be able to move forward with that. The only thing is that kindergartners will not be able to like, you know, cross the stage or do anything because that they were not approved on the list for CPS.
Are we able to do, I mean, I know that we created those signs for the front for the yard, right? Was it, what was it, the SES?
The yard signs?
Yeah, the yard signs. I mean, can we do something like that for the little ones? I don't know.
Parents would have to pay for those.
Huh?
Parents would have to pay for that.
Right, you know, at least have some options, you know, I don't know, just something for the little ones since we've not touched, you know, spoken about that.
So that would be, again, that would have to be a parent committee. And if they want to get together and come up with some, you know, brainstorm and do some ideas, I think that would be great. That would be awesome to do. At other schools, it's parents who are leading that charge and ensuring that's happening. And I think that that's great. If they want to do that, I'm on board with that. We just need somebody to take the lead on that.
Okay. All righty, well, that's just, those were the only things that I wanted to bring up in my report, unless anyone has any other questions or anything that they need to know, because we can move forward if no one has anything else to add.
Did you talk about like the parade? We can't do that either. No school
Oh,
parade.
that's right, for the parade, I'm sorry, that it's the parade, because I did see, I have been seeing other schools that are doing the parade. Are we not able to do that?
So
At
CPS,
least I've seen it for high school.
so CPS says we are not allowed to do car parades at all.
So maybe it's because it's not a CPS school that I'm seeing that are having these parades.
It could be.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to do that. It cannot be a school-sponsored event, so we are not allowed to do a parade.
What were you trying to do?
We are working with our committee, and I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody again just because I know there's feedback. You can unmute yourself if you need to talk. But we do have a committee for 8th grade. That's our climate and culture committee is kind of going through the guidance. Our newest guidance that was sent out for 8th grade was that we can do what's called a drive-through graduation, but we are waiting to hear what that means and what that looks like. And what I think it is where kids are able to jump out of the car, walk across the stage, grab their diploma, take a picture, and then get back in their car. So that is what I think, Jasmine, you and I had talked, remember, about doing something similar to that, where kids would do that. And I think that we may be going that route, but I will know more on Friday. And so I'll have that ready for 8th grade, for the 8th grade parent meeting that we'll plan. Okay. Oops.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. That does complete my report. And then we can go ahead and move forward to what is it, PPLC?
Okay.
I know that, so does
Yeah.
Ms. Morehouse, do you guys want to add
Okay.
anything?
So yeah, we met this month and basically, we were told that our teachers are doing really good with the remote learning using our digital platforms. We basically were wondering about would special ed pre-K receive a smart board? And like, when will we be receiving professional development on those smart boards? And then, I mean, I do realize that in this circumstance that, you know, those questions may or may not be answered.
Okay.
Okay, that's about it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want me to answer the question, I don't have an answer for you for professional development as of yet, because that has to be done in person. As far as smart boards go, we ordered as many as we could. The district did cap us off. I think it was 11. And so for the next school year, we would be able to order more. With and I'll talk about it more in my report. But go ahead.
Okay, anybody else? Does anybody else have anything else to add? No?
Not for that.
Okay. All right, so we'll move forward to sustainable community. Did everyone get a chance to read the report for STS?
No, I didn't. You received one?
Yeah, Acevedo emailed it to everyone.
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm trying to pull it up and I'm not.
Any questions for those of you who read it? Are there any questions?
Yeah, are there any questions? Because I'm not able to pull it up.
All right, no questions. I guess we can move forward.
Yep. So we'll move forward to Parent Advisory Committee. So last meeting, we did speak about that there was money on the PAC. Perez and I did sit down and spend the money. We used it for to purchase supplies. We've used it to purchase, what was it, 2 computers, if I'm correct? So pretty much we spent the money on supplies for the room, and we purchased 2 computers with the money that was there because it needed to be spent by a certain amount of time. So that's how the money was spent for that. Perez, do we still have the money that was raised for the pasta bowl?
That money we still have, yeah.
We still have, and that's what, like 240, I think.
I don't remember.
It's about $200. So that's how the money was spent for PAG, since we didn't want it to go back to the board. We just pretty much just used it to buy supplies for the room, for the parents, and for 2 computers. That does complete the report for PAC, unless anyone has any questions. Nope. Okay,
When's
so
the
we'll move.
next, when's the next PAC meeting?
There hasn't been one. There hasn't been one because pretty much I think we were down to myself only in the PAC. Everyone left.
So we will begin with PAC next year again, and hopefully we'll get more officers.
Yeah.
Majority of the PAC meetings for Ms. Torres and the parent mentor.
Okay. All right, so that does complete the report, and then we'll move to principal's report.
Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna mute everybody and then you guys can hear me. All right, everybody can hear me? Great. So just really quickly, so progress reports, grades were last week. We sent out communication. You should be getting communication from the district. So all parents will be receiving a parent letter on top of the progress reports that explains the grading for 4th quarter. And so I just want to reiterate that it is quite confusing for parents to know how grades are going to be calculated this school year, especially with all of this. So when we talk about students failing or students going to summer school, or what that means for graduation and what that means for promotion, it's pretty convoluted. So if a student received passing grades for quarters 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3, and they receive a failing grade for quarter 4, let's just say, then they would be considered having an incomplete grade, and then their grade would be averaged by the first 3 quarters, right? So then that would consider them a passing student. If a student did not log on during 4th quarter, did not complete any work, but has a device and has confirmed that they have internet, then they receive zeros or Fs and they fail 4th quarter, they will still receive an incomplete, and that will be represented as a slash on their report card. And then that student would then be recommended for what they are calling remote summer learning, which is essentially remote summer school. So there is a lot of that happening. And so parents should be receiving progress reports in the mail within the next 3 days, so those went out. Grades were due Friday, they were printed Tuesday. So you should be receiving them soon with more explanation on grades. We are spending, we had to spend all of our money by last Friday at 5 o'clock, which was the rest of our budget. So what we did do is we prioritized everything that was in the teacher's needs assessment. So there was a needs assessment sent out for budget. So for things that teachers asked for. So like we're talking about chart paper, markers, pencils, pens, those things, supplies. So we did prioritize that, but we also spoke to a lot of teachers, and because of the remote learning, they're really having trouble connecting and doing those things with computers. And so a lot of the teachers have asked for real computers and not Chromebooks. And so we did spend, sorry, get out of here. Sorry, my dog is at the bottom here. So we did spend money to buy each teacher a computer. And so that is also something we spent the funding on. We also spent money on making sure that we have smart boards in at least kindergarten through 4th grade. And that's just the homerooms. And then as we go through the next school year, we will move forward with ensuring that every other classroom has a smart board as well. And then Sustainable Community Schools had its own budget that we had to spend, and we did work through that. And so under Sustainable Community Schools, we talked about developing what's called a maker space. And so a maker space is a place where students and a teacher and a club could go in to help design projects at the school. And so some of the things that were purchased with that funding was furniture for the maker space, a 3D printer, and then also a computers and chairs and things like that for that room. And then also a smart touch screen for that room. And then I'll go into what that means coming in the future for next school year. We did also, what else did I write here? That's it. And then we're continuing to have a lot of our families still being affected by COVID. And so we want everybody to understand that while we know that this is hard for some, it's becoming harder for others. And what I mean by that is that we have families who have people who are passing away, and we have families who are losing their jobs because they're in quarantine. And so we have developed with our partners at the Wood Family Foundation and our partners at Spencer Stewart and our partners with the local, with the Logan Square Neighborhood Association, there are what's called the solidarity funds, right? And so these are funds that we have created and we have put together to help send groceries to homes, to help send supplies and things that they may need during this hard time. And so some of that also has been rent relief or even bill payment, right? And so I'm not saying that we are paying 100% of someone's rent, but we are helping out with those things if they need it. So if there are parents who are out there who are listening, or you know of parents, please make sure that you do refer them to us and we will refer them to our partners. There is a short process that we have to interview and talk to you about, but most parents have been awarded those things and they have been very thankful and grateful for that. And then kind of the next thing that we are worried about, and I know many people are kind of like, what's happening for next school year? And so we don't know what's happening for next school year, but what we are doing is planning for it. And so with that planning, we are putting together we're putting together some plans for next school year, whether it is remote learning, we start remote learning, or whether we're coming back to school half time where they're going to do staggered starts, or we may just come back to school and we may be fine and we may be social distancing in classes. The district has not sent out any guidance on that. They did talk to us about some plans, but nothing is set in stone yet. And I know that that's kind of unnerving for some parents because we want our kids to be in school, but on the flip side, we also want our kids and our families to be safe. And so number one for us has always been the safety of our children and the health of our children. So we want to make sure that that's happening and that is, and that's at our forefront. So I'm just kind of reiterating what our district leaders have said and that they are planning with everybody in mind. And I guess there are some parent focus groups that are happening around what they think we should do. Right now, we do not have enough there's not enough hand sanitizer in the building to have an entire class. We don't have masks for every kid. So none of that. I know parents have come and called and asked me, well, why can't we just get a mask for every kid? And why can't we just have hand sanitizer in the classroom? I mean, if it was that easy, we would have done it already. So we want to make sure that that's kind of out there. And we want to ensure that like our first and foremost, thing is to make sure kids are safe and our adults are safe. And so that's what we are doing at the school. And so as soon as we hear, you will be getting a robocall from me. And so what I do stress is I know that a lot of parents, kind of see that phone call and they press end and they decline the call. Just please be sure that if you're declining the call that you listen to the message when it goes through. And please stay up to date on our website. We are posting things on our website, which is yateselementary.org. That is all my report unless anybody has questions. All right, I guess there are no questions, so you can move on, Ms. Torres.
All righty. So we'll move on to, I guess we have public participation here now.
We do.
Was that an error on the agenda?
No.
I mean, yeah, it's probably an error on the agenda. It's okay. We'll just go ahead and do public participation now. since it's already there. Ms. Brown, I know that she is on and she wanted to say something. Ms.
Okay.
Brown?
Yes. Mr. Perez, you were saying that you are going to get computers for the teachers.
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, with the remote learning, we don't know if we're going to go back to remote learning come September. What are you doing for the aides? Because as you noticed, when we went to remote learning, some aides did not have computers or laptops. So are you thinking about getting computers for the aides as well, or at least allowing us to have a Chromebook so
Yeah.
that if we are in remote learning, everyone can have access to what it is, because you are having us to be just as active as the teachers.
That is
In the
correct.
classes and things like that, which is good. And I thank you, because some of my aides, some of my friends that's aides at other schools, all they principal having them doing is just calling students all the time. So I thank you for allowing us to be in the classes with the teachers. But as you notice, when it's kicked out, some of us didn't have laptops, computers, and stuff like that. So are you looking to get us computers as well? Or at
We
least
are going,
allowing us to
we
have a
are right
Chromebook?
now, the plan is to give aides the Chromebooks.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Mhm.
There was somebody in the chat on YouTube in regards to the kids who raised money. Hello, this is Tiffany Copy's mom, and I do agree on helping some of the kids that need help with that money. So that was what was said in the chat on YouTube. So I wanted to make sure that that was, and then the student, Tiffany Copy said, I agree with helping students because they did work very hard since day one, and I don't think it's fair that everybody gets the same amount of money. So just the kids who raised the money. We would like to hold another meeting with parents and people who raised the money. Can you present these options at the next meeting? Yes, we can. All right.
Except the next meeting is the end of June. Do you mean like the 8th grade?
I think the 8th grade parent meeting.
Right, it would have to be an 8th grade parent meeting, if we are gonna speak about, yeah, we're gonna have to set up a date now, before we end the LSC meeting, so that we can send out the robocall or email to
Okay.
each 8th grade parent.
Not a
Okay, do we
problem.
have anybody else on public participation? Did anybody else send the chat? No?
No,
I don't think we have anybody here on.
Not anybody in my email either.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything either, so I guess we can go ahead and just move forward.
Okay.
So we'll move forward to new business. We have what is SY?
School year.
School year.
Of course. School year 2020-21 CIWP and budget presentation. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want me just to read? And then we have the school year 2020-2021 budget approval vote.
So it's a presentation that I have. This is our yearly budget presentation and CIWP. So I'm going to present it and then I'll take questions.
Okay. You're doing that now?
Yes.
Okay, so just for everyone, just keep in mind that we do have to approve the CIWP, right?
Yep, along with the budget.
All right, so as soon as he's done, just for the LSC, just keep in mind that we do have to approve as soon as he is done. I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay, I'm going to figure out how to present this correctly.
Okay.
All right. So we should be seeing the local school council May 27, 2020 screen. If you don't, please let me know. But I think we all do, right? If you do see it, if you can give me a thumbs up for those of you who are on the LSC.
Yeah, I cannot see it. All
You
right.
don't see it?
No.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. What are we supposed to see?
You should
I
see
don't
May
see-
27th, 2020.
Oh, yeah, I see
Yeah.
it now. I see it now.
I don't,
Okay.
I don't see anything. I just see May 27, 2020 LSC. Is that what it is?
Yes, that.
Okay, I see it then.
Okay. And then that's what's broadcasting right now on YouTube as well.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with the CIWP, which is our continuous improvement work plan. So right now, our current mission is the Richard Yates Elementary School is the mission of Richard Yates Elementary School is to provide our students with experiential learning through developmentally appropriate instruction that allows for individual differences in learning style in an inclusive environment. Our school promotes a safe, orderly, and caring community that seeks to develop the whole child. Our vision is to develop leaders who strive for academic excellence, social awareness, and emotional intelligence, all while instilling in them critical thinking skills, a global perspective, and a respect for core values. And it's also in Spanish. La escuela de primaria de Richard Yates es proporcionar a nuestros estudiantes un aprendizaje experiencial a través de una instrucción apropiada para el desarrollo que permita las diferencias individuales y los estilos de aprendizaje en un entorno inclusivo. Nuestra escuela promueve una comunidad segura, ordenada y solidaria que busca desarrollar al niño en su totalidad. La visión de la Escuela Yates es desarrollar líderes que luchen por la excelencia académica, la conciencia social y la inteligencia emocional, al mismo tiempo que incluyen en ellos habilidades de pensamiento crítico, una perspectiva global y respeto por los valores fundamentales. So last year, and I'm saying last school year, not this school year, but last school year, we had an attendance rate of 94.9%. And then this school year, we had said that we wanted to reach 95.0. Our current attendance before we left on the COVID, I don't want to say break, but the COVID pandemic was 94.1. So we were not on task or on goal to meet our 95.0%. So what we did choose was that our 2021 goal would be 95.0, and then after that would be 95.5, which was the CIWP goal. Attendance is one of the goals on CIWP that we must meet in order to get our SQRP to the to at least a level 2+ status, right? And so we got to get, that's part of the things that we had to put into place, some systems and structures for that. And so there are some ideas around attendance, ensuring that we have an attendance team, which is an attendance action team that really focuses on targeting students who are truant. So those would be students who have 5 or more absences in a year, and really focusing on what supports we can give them to come to school. And then anything over 5 would then be also put into a tier 3 status, which for those of you who don't know what tier 3 is, it's more of like the one-on-one support where we the other ideas that came around attendance was to ensure that we continued to have what's called a home safety checker, which is a person who does that work, but also goes to homes and ensures children are still living in their homes, that they're safe in their homes, and they're you know, and that those addresses are all up to date for those who are truant. Last year, we did have a home safety checker for about a half a year, but we lost the grant for the home safety checker that came out of the PRCC's grant. So this year, what we did do is we programmed the home safety checker into the student community schools grant that then help pay for them all year round to do that work. And a part of that work last year, our home safety checker went house to house. And a lot of times we found that students were not even living in places that they said that they were. And so that's a lot of the reasons why we found a lot of students who were late. They couldn't get to school because of transportation. They lived so far. And that way we were able to kind of curb that because of because of the home safety checker who was able to get them transportation. Other things that we found that had to do with our attendance was that attendance was not being recorded correctly. So if a student who was late for 15 minutes got there at 9:15 instead of 9 o'clock, the teacher was marking them absent, and then their attendance was not being corrected. If it either wasn't being corrected at all or was being corrected late. So we've created some better systems and structures to make sure that that doesn't happen, so we can ensure that all students get credit for their attendance. And I can probably, I think any of the 3 parents who are on the council probably know, when you look at your students' progress report, your students' report card, that's one of the first things you look at is their attendance. And so some of you had some corrections that needed to be made. And so that was one of the reasons why we want to make sure that that person, we have a home safety checker who's going to do all that work and do those corrections. So in order for us to get there, those are the system and structures we put into place. So hopefully we will get that 95.0% or 95.5. So that was one of our CIWP priorities, was attendance. The next thing is, this is our CIWP team, and I think that probably should have been beforehand, but these are the people who were on it. Ms. Fern, Ms. Collier, Mrs. Gilbert, Mrs. Schliemann, Ms. Moeller, Ms. Moreno, Mrs. Reyes, Mrs. Morehouse, and Mrs. Lajarde. And we did some consult with Ms. Torres because we did have to have a parent on there, but because we went to remote learning, we had to ensure that, I know that it was hard for some people to get on it and do all these things. So we were able to consult with Ms. Torres as a parent. And so we had conversations about it. And then that's why we're presenting it today. And then there are things that if you have suggestions, we can talk about as well. So we chose curriculum as our next priority because we had a 12th percentile in reading and a 12th percentile in math. So what that means is that 12% of our students school-wide from 3rd to 8th grade are reading at grade level. And 12% of our students from 3rd to 8th grade know their math facts on grade level. And that's pretty concerning because it's 12%. And the district wants us to be at 50% or higher. So we decided to make sure that our curriculum is set and that we're not changing our curriculum, we're not continuing to do that, and that we're creating pacing guides and crosswalks between that. And so that was, curriculum was one of them, the first one. Another one that we taught, that we chose as our priority. We did implement a new reading curriculum this past school year, and the year before that we implemented a new math curriculum. And if you remember, we saw quite a bit of growth in our math because of that curriculum. I can honestly say I think that that's what it was. We did see a lot of growth with our special ed students, who are 30% of our population. So that was one of the reasons why we ended up going to the reading curriculum this school year. So as we continue to go on to our next 2 school years, which is what the CIWP covers, our CIWP, what we're hoping to see is the growth in reading, and that's essentially where we are with that. Our second priority we chose was MTSS. MTSS is our multi-tiered systems of support, and so what I want to make sure people understand what that means. What that is for those students who are low, so that's the other 88% of students who are not reading at grade level, what are we doing for those kids? What actual things, what actual interventions are we doing for those students, right? And so that's what MTSS is. And what we do is we group those students into tier 2 and tier 3 and provide them with interventions. So for example, if a student is in 3rd grade and they're reading at a kindergarten level, what supports does that student need? They need one-on-one tutoring. They're going to need to be pulled out. And we need to have conversations with the parent to see what parents can do at home to help them as well. And then moving forward, the same thing for math. So MTSS is something that we have kind of not really focused on in the past. And so what ends up happening is kids move forward and they move grade levels and they're still low. And then what happens is students are then placed into special education. And that's not what we want. We don't want students to be placed in the special education because we haven't done our job, because we haven't done our due diligence, and we have not worked with parents and done everything we could do to ensure that they're going to be successful. So multi-tiered systems of support was our second priority that we chose. The last one, which we only chose 3, including attendance would be 4, but was student voice engagement in civic life. That was one that we chose because we want to make sure that our students have a voice in what's going on in their school. We want to make sure that they understand what civic life is and what it means to be on a council and what it means to be elected. And we want to make sure that they understand the democratic process of a school, while ensuring that they have a voice into how their school is run and how their school is going to move forward. So student voice and engagement also runs through with SCS, which is our Sustainable Community Schools. And so if you remember our CIWP, our budget, our SES, all of that has to be aligned under the same process. And so student voice was one of the ones that we chose because the SES also has a pillar under student voice and getting students involved. And so what that's gonna look like next year and the next 2 years is we're gonna be establishing what's called a student council. And so a student council would be a council of students from grade levels, various grade levels, that would then help to advise the adults in the building. And I say that with the utmost respect because a lot of times we don't think students can do that work. And I think that we need to challenge them to do that work for us and help us with that, because ultimately they are the people who are being affected by what the decisions are being made. So we want to make sure that that we put them in there and that they are involved in that process. So those are the 3 CIWP priorities. Are there any questions, discussions, or comments about it? Okay. I'm gonna give it nobody on the council has a comment or anything. Sounds great. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Just to double check the home safety checker, we are going to have one, right?
Yes, we're gonna have one and they'll be funded through Sustainable Community Schools.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm good with that.
Great. All right, moving forward. So now we're gonna move forward on the budget. So our budget this year, I wanna say, was very pleasing. We did not lose a lot of money, which is really great to hear. So kind of looking at this graph, last school year, we is on that second column. This school year is on the middle column and the changes are on the right column. So what you can see there is that we did have a change in funding. We had an increase in a funding source called student-based budgeting. Student-based budgeting is the budgeting that comes from the city that is allocated per student. We had an increase of $53,137 there. We were also provided with what's called an equity grant. The district chose to give us an equity grant based on our school, our size, and our population. Last year gave us $100,000. This year we were awarded $85,000. So there's a difference in $15,000 in red. That's what you see there. And then there's supplemental aid, which is what the funding that comes from the state, which is the ISB money. And that's based off of your property taxes and that kind of stuff. And there was an increase of $38,706 there. And then we have Title I. Title I funding is the funding that we get from students who have low socioeconomic status. So those students who are free and reduced lunch and qualify for that, we get additional funding for that. And those are those lunch forms that we bother parents to turn in every year by October 10th. And that Mr. Ortiz and myself really worked tirelessly to get those in. And so that, because we did really well, we had 100% last year, we got an increase as well in Title I money, which was $67,406. The Title I parent funding, which is the PAC money for this coming school year, was increased as well. That money is now been increased to $2,671, and that's been an increase of $778 from last year. And then Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. That is a committee that is established of parents who have students in the bilingual program, and that money was $500, and there wasn't an increase. It was just the same as last year. So with that said, if you see the change in funding on the last column, we had a surplus, and I don't want to call it a surplus, but we had a surplus of $145,000 with $145,027. So with that, we were able to do some things that a lot of the parents have asked for, and then that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, so we had the biggest change this year was the increase of $145,027. So now we have the funding, and now we're going to talk about positions. So there are positions that are funded by Chicago Public Schools, which is downtown, right? And so if you can see here, all of our positions were changed. They were the same. We did have 2 changes. So we had 2 paraprofessionals that were reduced this school year because we have 2 students one student who left and 1 student who's graduating, we will no longer need a paraprofessional for. So that's why you see the decrease there in 2 positions. When you see we had an increase in special ed teachers because last year we also had what's called a deficiency in minutes. So we had students who were special ed students who did not have a special ed teacher because of scheduling. So the district decided to give us 1 extra position to be able to meet those minutes. So we went from having 9 positions to 10 positions there. And then as you continue down, you can see that we have everything else has stayed the same. So we will have 2 security officers. We had a half-time English language proficiency teacher. We will have 2 pre-K teachers and 2 pre-K TAs. We'll have 1 case manager, and then 5 cluster teachers and 8 cluster paras. So if you look at the 3rd column, the change of positions really is we lost 2 para positions, but then gained 1 teacher position. That's why you see a 1 at the bottom, right? But those are not the same thing. So I want to make sure we understand that, right? A teacher and a para are not the same, and they're not in the same job class. So we did lose 2 para positions. However, we did not lose 2 para employees. And so I want to make that clear as well. Those 2 positions, we just ironically had them vacant. And so because we lost them, nobody has lost their job per se, okay? So here's what our enrollment is. And what you see here is with the red at the top at the kindergarten, we're looking at 30 kindergartners. And that's what's projected because we don't have anybody registered yet. We've been looking for registrations, but as of right now, we don't have anybody registered. So I just put that as a projection because that's what we had last school year. And as we kind of move down, you see the arrows. We have the kindergartners going to 1st grade, the 1st graders going to 2nd grade, and so on and so on. And so when you look at the students in, for example, 3rd grade, we lost a lot of 3rd graders this past school year. We lost 7 3rd graders. And what I mean by that, they transferred or they've moved or they've already told us they are leaving. So we have a decrease from 42 3rd graders now going into 4th grade, which would be 35. In 5th grade, we have in 4th grade, we had 35 starting out in the school year. And I think Ms. Torres can talk to that because her daughter is in that class, I think, right, in the 4th grade class. And it was a big classroom. And so we did lose students there. So we have a decrease in that. And then we also were able to get a teacher for the special ed in that grade level, because remember, we didn't have one, which also created a bigger problem in that classroom because kids were supposed to be pulled out and it was supposed to be smaller. Now we have all of our special ed teachers. And so what that's going to look like for 5th grade, as we go into 5th grade, there's going to be 32, it'll be 32 5th graders, but then there will be 4 students pulled out, which will then drop it down to 28. So it's a manageable size. And then as we kind of go down, we have, going in there, we have in 5th and 6th grade, we're going to have 45 students. In 7th grade, 41, and in 8th grade, 42, which gives us a projected number at 302 students. And then in pre-K, it is 20 students. And then in the pre-K instructional, which is what we would call our pre-K cluster program, it's 10 students. So that's what we have projected for our enrollment right now. These numbers do fluctuate, but this is what our budget is based off of. And so the district bases our budget on that number 302. And if we go over the 302, which is a good thing, they will give us money to our account to use as we need to. If we go under that, what used to happen was the district would take the money back and then we would end up with a bigger negative. However, they have told us this year that they will not be taking that money back, which is good to know. So as long as we remain at where we're at, we should be fine for the next school year. So with that said, this is what our homerooms will look like for next school year. We're going to have 1 kindergarten. We'll have 1 1st grade, 1 2nd grade. we're going to split the first grade and second grade to bilingual, which was something that a lot of parents asked for last year, because of the fact that we had 30 kids in kindergarten and 31 in first grade. So now those kids will be moving to first and second. So if we split them up, we'll have a smaller classroom, be able to evenly do that, and it'll be a much more manageable class. We'll have 1 third grade classroom, 1 fourth grade, 1 fifth grade, 2 sixth grade, 2 seventh, and 2 eighth. And then we'll have 10 special education teachers next school year. All right, so those are the teacher positions that have been allocated based on population. And then we have to pay for all of our extra positions, right? Which are the any paras, any deans and such. And so that's what I'm gonna go into now. I'm sorry, cluster. So these are our cluster paras. So these were the teacher positions. So this is the teachers. So we'll have 10 special education teachers. We will have 13 homeroom teachers, 2 pre-K teachers, and then special ed cluster that you see there, and a case manager. And then we have our paraprofessionals, which are our teachers' aides. We'll have 2 pre-K instructional aides, 2 cluster K2, bless you, 2 cluster 3 to 5, and 2 cluster 6 to 8. Then we have 2 students who require what's called a one-on-one, which is a dedicated aide, and we have those allocated as well. And then we have an ADA position of teacher assistant, and then we have 2 teacher assistants in the pre-K rooms. We have an office clerk and 2 security officers. So these are the allocated positions from the district. Questions on the allocated positions? Let me start there. I'll stop there for now. Any questions on the allocated position?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
For kindergarten, there's gonna be 2 kindergarten classes.
There's going to be 1 kindergarten classroom.
I'm sorry, preschool. I'm so sorry. Does preschool is gonna have 2?
Yes.
And are they? I'm only asking because parents asked me. Is it gonna be full day?
It is full day. Yes, it is.
It is full day. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
that's
and they
all I
have to
needed.
apply. So please make sure you let any parent know that pre-K has to apply through the application process on the CPS website in order to be enrolled at our school. We don't
Okay,
control.
yeah, I had a few parents ask me if there was gonna be preschool and if it was gonna be full day.
Yes.
I told them that I believe it is gonna be full day, but just wanted to make sure that it is.
Yes, it is. And again, they have to apply. We don't control the enrollment. We only control, we don't control the application. We control the enrollment.
Right, okay.
All right. All right, moving forward. So those are the allocated positions, and these are the positions that we have that are allocated with our budget, with our school. And then now we have to use what we have, which is the funding that we have to pay for the rest of our positions. So we this year are going to have PE, as we always had. We've added a technology teacher. We have added a music, so we have our music teacher. We're going to continue with our music teacher, and then we've also added what's called digital reading. And that's something that people are like, what is a digital reading class? What does that mean? How's that going to work? And so what I want to stress to people is that we have a low reading score. And so we have to figure out what we can do to help motivate students to read and read more and read for pleasure and read for leisure. And so while this is it's going to be sort of like a librarian, I don't want it to be what students think library is about, right? And so, and I know that in our past, our students really did not like having the library class, and they really did not understand what it was and how that was supposed to work. There were some kids who did really love it, and there were some kids who just did not understand it. And so we've kind of merged the two because we know kids love technology, we know kids love reading. And so what that's going to look like is they're going to be reading things online, they're going to have discussions, there's going to be a book, there's going to be a program called Reading Counts. And we're going to be having points for kids who read books, and there's going to be assemblies for the leader reader or the reader leader, which is tying into Leader and Me. And then we've also kind of tied that into what's going to be happening in their classrooms. So one of the things that we also want to make sure we stress, and we talk, like every classroom has to have a classroom library, which is a place where kids can pull books that they're interested in to take home to read. So every classroom will have that for next year too. So those are the exploratory teachers. And then under support, we have the assistant principal and the dean of discipline. And then we were able to fund what's called an overage para. So an overage para is a teacher assistant that would be used to work with students in classes that are either overloaded or kids that need intervention. So for those students we talked about who are reading at low scores, they would be able to pull those groups of students and read with them, or pull those groups of students and help work on their math. So that's what that teacher assistant there is used for. And then we have a curriculum coach. Now this, I put this on here because I wanted to make sure we understood the curriculum coach is not paid for through this budget at all. The curriculum coach is funded through what's called an Illinois Empower Grant. And that was issued to us last school year, which was part of what's called a school improvement grant. And so we were only allowed to use it for certain things. And one of those things was a position for a curriculum coach and professional development for teachers. So we have used it for professional development for the teachers and to hire a curriculum coach. But I wanted to make sure that we're being very transparent and that coach was there. And I left it off of the staff presentation by accident. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows what our positions are. So those are the budgeted staff positions. Are there any questions on the staff positions as of now?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the digital reading, is that strictly for reading or could it be for math as well?
So that's going to be, right now, it is going to be for reading only.
Okay.
So it's not going to be like an IXL class, or, you know, one of the things that we, and I say we, when we were talking, Ms. Collier and I were kind of thinking about what this position could be. It was, we don't want kids to be going to a library or going to a computer lab and just working on IXL. And so if you're saying, can it be math? Yes. I mean, like if it's reading math, right? And so one of the as you know, and we've talked to a lot of you about it, is that what we find our kids struggle in math is reading word problems, is understanding word problems because of their low reading skills, right? And so that could be a part of it. So where we're looking at word problems and we're dissecting what a word problem is and we're understanding what those terms mean, but it really is about the verbiage and the words behind math, if that's what you're asking.
No, but what about, and then are those exploratory teachers that's etched in stone? Or because if we, you know, don't, because these positions I'm assuming are not filled except for music.
That's correct.
So are those, you know, flexible?
Yes.
Meaning,
and that's something
okay.
that's something that we can discuss. That's why I'm asking. I mean, we can discuss that now if you have an idea.
Well, I mean, I guess like, I don't know, like cooking or art or drama or something like that, like a fine arts or something.
Okay. So remember that, and just so everybody knows, right? So in order for us to comply with the state regulations, we have to have a PE teacher and an art of some sort. So we have our music teacher, and then the rest is up to us. So yeah, we could get an art teacher, we could have a dance teacher, a cooking teacher. We don't have, like there's no certification for that, but it's obviously something we can look into finding, and I don't know what that would look like. I think you and I have talked about it, but one of the things that I know, one of the issues we ran into was that our kitchen classroom is not up to the kitchen code that it needed to be in order to do that. So.
And then if we were to get the kitchen up to code, is there money budgeted for that?
There is not, because it's considered a capital improvement. So we're not allowed to budget for capital improvement. We can do things like painting and, you know, and some minor things, but we can't like overhaul and take all the cabinets out and redo the plumbing. We're not allowed to do any of that.
Who does that, CPS?
Yeah, that would have to come from the facilities office.
And then how do you go about that? I mean, you apply for something or?
I don't know, but we can find out.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Be-
questions around the budgeted staff positions? Yes.
I do. I just need to, what is it exactly, the digital reading? Like what, I'm sorry. I just need to make sure that I'm getting what the digital reading it's gonna be for.
I'm gonna explain it again.
Yes.
So the digital reading,
I wasn't listening.
Ms. Torres, you have to listen to my presentation, Ms. Torres. The digital reading teacher is, in a sense, going to be a digital librarian. It's going to be like library. However, what my vision is for the position, and again, this is not set in stone. What the reason why this came about was because we have such low reading scores. We need to figure out what we can do in the school day to help motivate students to read. And so a part of that is going to be using programs like reading counts and accelerated reader to help motivate students to read. Then they would take a test on a book, and then they would get points for every book that they read. And then every month we would celebrate the reader leaders in their classrooms. So that's one thing. That's one piece. The other part of it is to introduce them to online books, to books that are on recorded, so that we know that reading a book is not just by opening a book and reading it, right? We know that for us and for nowadays, reading books, we read books online, we listen to books on Audible, we also read books on our tablets, and we read books in Kindle. And so those are some of the things that we're going to help to explore with kids when it comes to reading. And then one of the things that Ms. Morehouse was saying was, is that going to be tied to math? And so it's not going to be tied to math where we're teaching kids math facts, but it will be tied to math to teach kids math terms, right? Math vocabulary, math words and things to look out for. Because what we find in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is that our kids struggle in math because there's so many word problems. And there are so many word problems on our tests as they move forward. And they don't know how to decipher how to use those, how to go through those word problems, right? So that would be a part of that teacher's job as well, to really work through what does the word problem, what is it asking you? What are the terms? Do you understand what the terms mean? And going through that.
So I guess my question is there going to be a physical person there, or this is just all, okay.
Yes.
That's what I was, okay.
Yeah, these are people in the position. So this would be happening in the library. There would be somebody there. They would have technology to work with kids in technology, and they'd be able to check out books in the library. They would also be able to mark their books that they've already read for the semester, and then we'd go from there.
Okay, I was kind of confusing it with the IXL, because I know IXL is just strictly online.
Right,
So
and that's what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be an IXL class.
Okay.
I think our kids are IXL'd out throughout the day and at home.
Yes. Okay.
Any other questions about the budgeted staff positions? And again, these are not set in stone. And I guess let me explain to you a little bit around my vision. And this is my vision as the principal, but you guys can also chime in, right? So the technology teacher is not a computer teacher. They're going to be more of a STEM teacher. So if you heard me talking about SES and the makerspace, so SES has funded a makerspace for us. What that means is it's going to be a design class for students to be able to go in, work with technology, learn how to build robots, learn how to build bridges using, popsicle sticks, and they're going to be doing real world problems and things. It's going to be some computer based and some is going to be critically thinking, right? And they're going to be working in teams. And so if you've ever heard of a makerspace, there are things like a 3D printer that will be in there, and the teacher will be working on design projects with the students to do over a month. They'll be working on projects in a monthly basis kind of thing. And so where that's coming from is, one, yes, it is going to be part technology where we're going to teach kids how to really, and when I say kids, I'm talking like 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, how to open their email, how to send an email, what is an email, what are the parts of the computer. But as we move forward into 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we're going to really be looking at how to design things and plan from the paper to the actual physical piece of something. So that may look like looking at symbols and looking at and putting symbols together, creating a logo that is really based on your personality and what your logo could be, and then they would design that and then they would present it. So that teacher is going to be like really a STEM teacher, but they will be focusing on technology skills for kids. And I think that with remote learning where we are right now, we really need to ensure kids know how to use technology properly and how to understand what technology, how it should be used in their classrooms. Any questions on those teachers?
I know a lot of parents have always asked about the art teacher.
Mhm.
Art. I mean, I don't see art there, but I know that that's been something that has been brought up since last year, about an art teacher.
Yeah.
Is there maybe funding for an art teacher?
There is not funding for an art teacher right now. Now that, again, this is not set in stone. So if we want to fund an art teacher, we could take the technology teacher out or the digital reading teacher out and fund an art teacher.
Well, I would definitely keep the digital reading, especially if it's going to help with kids, and I mean, kids do need improvement in reading. So I wouldn't take the digital reading away. I would maybe substitute the technology for art, since it's something that the kids have been wanting.
So again, and I hear you. You're right. And we gotta figure one. And a lot of times, like, these are decisions we have to make, right? And so we have a requirement from the district and the state to have an arts program and a PE program. And the arts program that we have is music. Now, if we want to the technology teacher out and add an art teacher, that's something that we can talk about and we can vote on. But I really want to stress, and I'm just saying this as the school leader, like, we're in a time where technology is being used, and we really need to stress, like, the use of technology. And I can honestly tell you that right now, a lot of our struggles for our first 3 weeks was technology and how to use it and how to really put kids on it. And then being able to use it as a tool instead of as just a computer to get on and show things on, right? And so that was kind of the reason why the technology teacher came about. But again, that's something that we can talk about as well.
Okay.
And anybody else wants to chime in on that?
I'm wondering what happens if, like, say somebody doesn't apply to be a digital reading teacher, then what's the plan B?
So we have somebody already who applied. And we will be, once the position is approved or opened, we would then interview that person.
Okay, so you have somebody in place already for the digital.
Yes,
okay.
We have ideas for that. Yeah.
What
Do you
about the
have-
technology?
Yeah.
That one we don't have anybody. And the technology, again, teacher could be anybody with a science endorsement or a computer science endorsement.
Have you offered that to anybody of the existing staff?
I have not. I mean, that's a good idea too.
Okay.
But I presented it to the staff, and I had 2 of our staff members ask me about the digital reading teacher. So after I presented it that a week ago or a week and a half ago?
Well, no, I mean, I think when you're kind of telling people this is what the plan is, they don't realize if they're interested in that position that they can actually apply for it.
Oh.
Because I don't really know what the qualifications are for those positions, but I don't know. I just thought I'd ask.
Okay.
But I would say we also would definitely need a technology teacher if we're starting an entire makerspace.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the makerspace right now, it's planned to use with sustainable community schools, and it's really planned to be used with, after school programming, if anything. Like, let's say we decided to get an art teacher, then the makerspace would only be used for after school programming. I mean, and that's okay. But you're right. And the same thing with, and I want to remind everybody, we are scheduled to be 1-to-1 with technology next year, right? So 1-to-1 means that every student in our building will have a device. And so that's an iPad or a Chromebook. And if we think about it, we really need to make sure that our kids know how to use it and that they're able to access their learning on it. And then going from there, we want to make sure that that we have somebody who's going to be able to teach them about it.
Okay.
All
I
right.
mean, I guess like you said, this is not set in stone, so they can always be changed if there's, you know, the position doesn't get filled.
Right.
We can
That's
always
true.
change it for another, you know, teacher.
And we are having art in SES after school, for sure.
Okay, that's good.
We did talk about that at the SES meeting, that students have been asking for a visual arts.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys know, but in SES, we did a needs assessment as well for students who filled out an assessment on it. And,
Yes.
you know, part of that, what came out was that we didn't have a lot of students who were interested in visual art, but we did have some, right? So that was enough for us to say, okay, we need an after school program for this. We had students who were interested in art, and we had students who were interested in dance team, you know, and those things, which I know that those are also mean a lot to kids, you know, to have the hip hop team, the folkloric team, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
So
Yes.
in the example that we continue with remote learning in the fall,
Yes.
will there be after school programming? Like remote after school programming?
I can't answer that question because I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Would
All right.
like Angela know the answer to that or no?
No,
CPS.
Angela, no, unfortunately, we have not been given any guidance on what that's going to look like after school if we're in remote learning when we come back in fall. So,
Okay.
all right. So these are the budgeted staff positions. And then what that comes out to is, if you look at the bottom there, that red number, it's $5 million, $5,461,549. Seems like a lot, but it is. Most of our budget goes to salary.
I don't think we can see that screen.
You can't see the green screen?
It says phys ed, technology, music.
Yeah, and then at
digital
the
reading.
bottom, there's a red position totals.
Ah, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we're now going to move on to the next piece, which is our personnel buckets. And our personnel buckets are they're what's called, they're buckets of funding for teachers and for our recess monitors and such, right? So, and I'll go slow with that so we can kind of take a look at that. We have miscellaneous employees, which are our 5 recess monitors who work at $13.50 an hour, that from beginning of school year to end of school year at $30,000. If we are in remote learning, obviously that money will go down because we won't need them because they won't be in the lunchroom, right? So just kind of thinking forward, but that's what we have to budget as if we were starting in September. And then in order to, we have our CIWP monitoring team, our instructional leadership team, and then curriculum planning. We budgeted $4,000 for teachers, to pay teachers and staff to come in before or to stay after school to do that work. And then we also budgeted $2,000 for our ESPs or our SICAs in case they stay after school, because we had, in some cases, we had some buses that were late and they were staying. So SICAs would get off at 4:15, buses would not arrive till 5:15, and they were staying for an hour with students and ensuring that they were safe and got on their buses safe. So we also budgeted $2,000 for that. So that came out to the total of $36,538, right? So the biggest of that chunk is the $30,000, which is what we pay our recess monitors for. Questions on that personnel budget, that small piece?
Where will the unused money go? If, you know.
So it drops to that pointer line, if you remember, and then that's where I always, when I come to an LSC meeting, I say, I want to transfer this from the pointer line. That's where it'll drop to, and then we would decide at that point what we want to do with it, or or I can make recommendations what we want to do with that funding at that point.
Okay.
And so then our non-personnel budget is $94,820. And this is what that looks like. So I want to make sure everybody understands what that is. So this is for everything else that we purchase at the school. So we have $13,000 to purchase our Eureka Math workbooks. That's what we spent last year to get workbooks for every student to ensure that that we don't have to do so much copying for math. This school year, we also want to make sure that we're sending teachers to their Eureka Math PD, especially any new teachers that we have on board, so that they know how to utilize our curriculum. And that's $500 a teacher. So at we put $2,500 in order to send at least 5 teachers to that PD. We also want to be sure that we have PD for reading, which is the reading and what's called the leveled literacy intervention professional development. And that's about $500 a teacher as well. So that enables us to send 5 teachers to that professional development. And then, as I've heard from all of my teachers, they are doing a lot of copying. And we want to make sure that we are reducing the copying as much as possible. So we put $13,820 away for for teachers in order for us to order the consumable books for the reading program, so that they're not doing as much copying as they did in the past. And so that's also why we have $13,820 for reading.
Would we use those if
Okay.
we were doing remote learning?
We
We don't know yet.
I don't know yet. Yeah, I can't answer that. I'm sorry. Then I was asked by the teachers, our science teachers, to make sure that we put in $4,000 to help replenish any of the science kits that we have and any science materials that will be needed for the lab in the middle school. So we budgeted $4,000 for science kits. $25,000 is budgeted for office supplies. And that is at a low range because last year we spent about $32,000 on office supplies. And so what this includes is copy paper, pencils, pens, chart paper, toner, things like that for the printers, because we did set up printing stations in the East building for teachers to be able to print in the East building. We have also put aside $16,000 for equipment. And this was asked for us to do in case we didn't receive any equipment back or we have broken equipment that comes back after remote learning. If it so happens that we get all of our stuff back and it's working, then that money could also be used to purchase the remainder of the smart boards in our building and anything else that we would need for technology or equipment at that time. Equipment also includes PE, gym equipment, mats, soccer balls, basketballs, that kind of stuff for each of those rooms as well. And then we have a $5,000 service contract for our copy machines. And that is $5,000 a year for us to be able to have those copy machines and have somebody to come in at any time to fix them or redo them, right? Or replace them.
Are they offering any rebates since we're not using them?
They're not.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Did we call? Okay.
Yes, Ms. Morehouse, yes. Then we have software licenses like RazKids and iExcel that we added there for $1,500. RazKids, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is a reading program that allows teachers to differentiate the books and give books to children at their level. And then there are also other pieces that we can purchase to it that kind of give us like the gold membership and so on from there. So we allocated $1,500 to that. Our RazKids was renewed for, the Reading A to Z was renewed for a year. But then the rest of that, we just added to kind of supplement whatever else would be needed as we move forward into the next school year. So that's why there is $1,500 there.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
So would that money include this reading counts and or accelerated reader?
No, accelerated reader has already been purchased.
What about reading counts?
That's not a program. That's just something that I'm gonna call it.
Oh.
Yeah. So we also allocated $1,000 for equipment for the music classroom. And that really is to where either get instruments, keyboards. I don't know if you know, but we use a lot of batteries in that classroom because we do utilize the keyboards on battery so the kids could use them in different spaces. And then we're also looking to build out what's called a recording studio for the music class as well. And so $1,000 is a little short, but that's all we could allocate for music. We also added $2,000 for PE. And that is just to look, I don't know if any of you have looked at our equipment, the current equipment we have, and I'm talking about the mats. Our mats are old, and we really need to take a look at what we're doing with them. And then also we have in our first floor gym, we have a scoreboard that is on the wall that needs to be fixed, and so that would possibly be used for that. But we usually always give the PE department $2,000 for equipment. And some years they use it, and some years they don't. And then we have professional development fees. And so this is to pay registrations for teachers to go to professional development that's outside of our district or maybe out of state. And when I say out of state, I mean Iowa or Indiana, somewhere close. But this is for a conference or Leader in Me Summit or ASCD for us to pay the registration fees for those conferences. And then we have $4,000 that we use to pay our school website. And for that to be managed by our technology coordinator, right? And so I don't know why that's not true. I need to take that off. We don't have a technology coordinator contract anymore. So that was just $4,000 to pay for the hosting of our website with Educational Networks. And so that's the company we use to have host our website. And then we put away $5,500 for student attendance incentives, which connects to our CIWP attendance goal. And this is anything from having the movie nights on once a month for students. This is also having the popcorn once a month for 100%ers. This also pays for certificates for perfect attendance, trophies for perfect attendance, and pays for those things. So that's and then if we have any raffles for any attendance as well, that's what that will be for. So that's $5,500. And then in order to pay for supplemental subscriptions to digital websites for kids, so this is $500 that was added there because we had special ed teachers in cluster who have asked for their subscriptions to, what's it called, Unique Curriculum. Our cluster program does use that curriculum to plan and to teach their kids. And so it's all online and it is for our cluster program. So we added $500 there. It does cost a little bit more than that, but we have an extended license, so that's why it was only for $500. And then this was for our students living in temporary living situations. We added $1,000. That's a requirement from the district in order for us to ensure that our students who are homeless are receiving, clothing, supplies, and anything that they need to be successful at school. So there is $1,000 put away for them for that. And so for those students, what I mean by supplies and stuff, so it's a bag of school supplies that we give them every year. And then we also have a hygiene kit that we also give students who are living in temporary living situations. And that is it on that side. Any questions? All right. So I'm going to go to the last part, and these are the funds that are allocated to the school that we have to use, which is considered the PAC money. This money should be 2,600. I think we wrote it down, right, Ms. Torres? It was an increase of $778.
Yeah, like 2,000 or something.
Yeah, so that's what the PAC money is. I'm sorry that's not corrected. I need to correct that. Our bilingual advisory committee, which was $500. And then that's it. Those were the two things that were allocated. So questions, comments, discussions, let's open that up and then we can go from there.
Nobody has questions, comments?
I'm okay with the budget.
I'm okay with the budget too.
So I motion to approve the budget.
We first have to motion to approve the CIWP.
Oh. So motion to approve CIWP.
So Calderon motions to approve the CIWP. I second that motion.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Is everybody present?
Yes, Ms. Lejarde.
Okay, Ms. Cruz, you're still there?
Oh, that's right. Is everybody present? Ms. Lajarde,
Yeah.
Ana,
Yes. I'm here.
is Anna here?
I don't think
Anna's on, but
so. Okay, Ms. Morehouse, you're still there, right?
Yes.
I hear you. Okay, great.
So I think we lost Anna, but we have quorum.
I'm still
Yeah.
here. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
there we
you're
go.
still there. Okay.
I'm still here. I hear you guys. I hear you.
All right, now we can motion.
Okay, so do we re-motion because there was already a motion? Ms.
Yeah,
So Calderon had motion to approve the CIWP. I had
Yes.
second, I had
Yes.
second that motion. All in favor?
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any no?
Aye.
Okay, so it sounds like everyone is in favor to approve the CIWP, so motion does pass.
motion to approve the budget.
Okay, so Calderon motions to approve the budget. I'll go, Ms. Lajarde is seconding that motion. Is Ms. Lajarde seconding that motion? Did I hear?
Yes, yes.
I see, I'm sorry, I see her on YouTube raising her hand.
So YouTube is 12 seconds behind us.
It is 12, yes. I'm like, oh. Okay, so Calderon motions to approve the budget. Who seconded that motion?
Ms. Lejarde?
Ms. Lajarde
Lejarde.
seconded that motion. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, so it looks like the budget, the motion does pass. Okay, so everybody's in favor.
I'm watching myself on YouTube too. It's not.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I'm here and then I'm here.
All right, so we are done with new business.
Okay, so we'll move forward. Oh, where's my?
Old business is next. I'm sorry, yeah, old business is next.
Oh, where's the agenda?
Old business.
We will now move forward to old business.
Yeah, we will now move forward to old business. Is there anything? No, there's nothing in old, there's nothing in old business.
There is budget spending, which we did. We closed out our budget on Friday of last week, and then we transferred funds last time to allocate for classroom upgrades, and those have started.
Okay.
Okay. Now we move forward to announcements.
Oh, quick question. What happened with LSC elections? Is it still
LSC elections are on hold until next school year, until we're actually in person. That's what they told me from the LSC relations. However, they did tell me that if we have any parents that are interested in joining right now with our vacant positions, we can appoint them as we always have done. So
Okay.
they asked me to find if we know anybody. So any of the two that are running, we can have them join. And if you're there are any parents listening, please let us know. Miss Copy, I know you're on the chat. I see you on the chat, and that would be really great if we had you joining. That would be really great to help us make these decisions. So please let us know if you're interested.
Okay. So, oh, where did it go? All right, so then we'll move down to announcements. Are there any announcements?
One announcement, there is a parent meeting on June 9th. It's going to be a digital meeting in Spanish and in English. The title is, I'm going to tell you right now because I just got it. It's going to be put on by Miss Nimari Donate. She is our parent consultant. It is called The Impact on My Child's Education During COVID. Su impacto en la educación de mi hijo o hija entre el tiempo de COVID. And that is on June 9th. We're starting with a Spanish one, which will be, I think it's at 4. And 5 will be the English one. I'm sorry, at 6 will be the English one. And then we will also record it and we will send it out to parents in a recording if they cannot attend.
She's a consultant for the school or for CSC?
She's the consultant for the Sustainable Community School. That is, I mean, she's being paid for out of them, but she's also our parent consultant for the school.
Okay.
That's the only announcement I have, unless anybody else has another one.
No, the only announcement that I have is that our next LSC meeting is scheduled for June 17th.
Oh, yes, right
Unless-
after graduation.
Right, unless we wanna, unless we need to, well, I think it's good for June 17th, unless we need to move the date.
I think it's good for June 17th. Is everybody okay with June 17th?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should just leave June
Same
17th.
time, 8 o'clock?
4 o'clock, yeah, I think it will be good at 4. Unless
Okay.
unless you guys wanna do it earlier, which I'm okay with.
We're still in school. The teachers.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So June 17th at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Sounds great.
Now, before we do end, we need to set a date for the 8th grade Zoom meeting. Are we doing that now, or you're just gonna pick a date?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
The meeting for 8th grade parents?
We can talk about that now if you want. So I think we
Do you
need to
want-
give it at least a week, and if we did a week from today, we're looking at June 3rd, which is next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, June 3rd works. So do you want to just June 3rd for the 8th grade meeting? What time? Do you want to do 4?
You tell me. You guys are the parents, so I want to make sure that we're accommodating any 8th grade parents.
Yeah, so Amalia, Anna, 5? 5?
Yeah, that worked for me.
Yes. Okay. So then we're doing June 3rd, June 3rd at 5 p.m.
June 3rd at 5 p.m. Perfect. 8th grade meeting. So anybody listening, the 8 people watching, June 3rd at 5 p.m. If you could please make sure we let them know. And Mr. Jaden Copy, who is he's in 3rd grade, wants to make sure that he wants us to know that he would like to have art, engineering, and yoga.
For those extra preps.
For the exploratory classes, yeah. So he was on the chat, and I did see his in here. So just wanted to, we had that down. And so obviously engineering would go right into that technology class. Yoga would go right into PE class. So all of that is encompassed in that fitness and health.
You said art and yoga?
He said art, engineering, and yoga.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
there was the transfer of $10,000 funds to allocate for classroom upgrades that we didn't mention, whiteboards, smart boards.
That was
Is that still on the, I'm sorry?
That was last month.
Oh, okay, because it was on here again.
It should be, yeah, it's under old business.
Okay.
Do you see it? It's like, it's
Yeah.
kind of sectioned in. Yeah. So we did use that money to get the whiteboards put in. So we're getting the whiteboards put in for every classroom.
Okay.
And then we spent also, you'll see when you come back. We also painted the rooms and the hallway. So everything is Labrador blue.
Okay.
No more yellow. I don't know if you remember the yellow on the first floor, but everybody said that was too bright and it was too yellow. So now it's Labrador blue.
Okay. Now when we walk in, now when we walk in, we're gonna say it's too blue.
I know. I know.
Ready? If anybody has any other announcements, before we go ahead and move to closing our meeting.
No, I think it's time.
Thank you.
All right, so then I will go ahead and motion to close at 6:10.
6:10. 2 hours.
We need a second.
Yeah, we need a second.
I second.
Ifle harde, okay, third.
Okay, so.
All in favor
Aye.
of adjourning the meeting
All in
at
favor?
6:10? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
No, not bye. Aye.
Sorry,
Aye.
I'm playing, I'm playing. I'm
All
playing.
right, so we are closing the meeting at 6:10 p.m.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for participating.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining.
Bye.